Yo, let's do it. Let's get it popping on this Monday, Football Monday here in New York City. Ty Butler in the house. You know how we do it. You know how we get it popping. Ty D Butler is where you can find me on Twitter, on X, Instagram. Hit us up, man. Ty D Butler. Follow the YouTube page where we are streaming the show. I'm excited because it's the first time all season we've come on here and been able to break down a Jet victory. So that's pretty cool. Um, you guys remember game 5 of the semis last year in the NBA? Knicks Celtics. Knicks had a 3-1 lead, went into Boston for a game 5, chance to close the series out. And Luke Cornett was just incredible, man. Terrific. Probably the best game he's ever played. So that gets remembered as the Luke Cornett game. And we have those at times, like the Ray Allen game, game 6 in the 2013 NBA Finals. Yesterday for the Jets was significant because it's the first win of the season, first win for Aaron Glenn as a head coach. But for me, it gets remembered as the Woody Johnson game because just days after Woody Johnson essentially told the world he had the worst starting quarterback in football, Justin Fields played as good of a game as you could possibly play. The Jets end up putting 39 points on a bad Bengals defense and winning the football game. I almost feel like uncomfortable because it's been a while since I had an opportunity to recap the Jets winning a game. But that's the Woody Johnson game yesterday. And it led to a lot of people who weren't even Jet fans. You go on social media, there were a lot of people. I saw Mina Kimes, shout out to her. She does a tremendous job. A lot of people just rooting for Fields because it's one thing to be critical of his play, as we've done in the media and the fans have done. That's understandable. But for the owner of the team to come out and embarrass that kid the way that he did 7 games into a season, knowing he's still on the roster, it speaks to a level of dysfunction that explains why the Jets have been as bad as they have for all of these years under Woody Johnson. But those comments, I think, galvanized like the football fans, the audience, who was like, yo, how about you root for Justin Fields? Because it'd be perfect if days after his owner said what he said, he comes out there and balls. And that's what he did yesterday. So the Jets, they score 39 points. Again, the Bengals defense is atrocious, and they had no business losing that. 23 points in the fourth quarter. Got to give a shout out to Breece Hall, man. He ends up throwing the game-winning touchdown pass on a trick play. Tanner Engstrink was in his bag. Fields goes 21 of 32, a touchdown. He had thrown the ball, but the numbers don't do it justice. 244 yards. You watch the game, you look at the numbers, doesn't feel like the stats do it justice because he made some big plays, critical throws. And the funny thing is, to start it all, it was the first drive for the Jets, and it's a 4th down play. They get stuffed, and you're like, here we go. The Bengals up 10-0 early, and you thought, okay, so I've seen this game before, and we know how it ends. But give credit to the team for not giving up. And I know it sounds ridiculous. Like, why do you give credit to athletes, professional athletes, who should have pride, making millions of dollars? Why are we giving them credit for not giving up? I think that it's not just giving up in a sense of we don't care anymore. Obviously you care, and it's a dangerous sport to play. So dangerous that if you're just caught going at 10%, you could get hurt, man. But what I'm talking about is the fact that there is still a belief in this locker room, which is where the coach deserves credit, to where these guys are flying all around, man, flying around. And you can say some of it is they're auditioning for their next stop. It could be contracts, or as we approach the trade deadline, some of these assets the Jets could try to cash in on. But the fact that they stayed in it, they played as hard as they did, and it's a relatively meaningless game. But to go out there and score 39 points on the road, this offense that was putrid, that I was on TV Saturday night killing and said they don't really have I said on television on Saturday night that if Joe Flacco played the way that he did against Pittsburgh on that Thursday night game, the Jets didn't have a shot because offensively, they're just too challenged to be able to hang in a game like that. And Flacco balls out. 2 touchdowns. P. Ryan was just running all over the Jets, and so was Chase Brown. The Bengals rushed for 181 yards. If you had told me before the game, if I had told you before the game, they're going to rush for a buck 81, they're going to score 38 points at home, Higgins and Chase are going to do their things respectively, you'd say, yeah, the Jets have no shot of winning this game. Except we did yesterday see something that I got to find out, when's the last time the Jets had 502 yards of total offense? It was unbelievable what I was watching. Unbelievable. So they get a win, and the significance of a win like that is pretty, easy to lay out. You fall to 0-8, you get embarrassed by Cincinnati. We now continue a conversation we've been having for weeks through the bye, where there's no football being played. And is Aaron Glenn the right man for the job? Which, by the way, is still a question we have. But at least you get to bask in the glory of a win, overcoming adversity, and that type of performance, the way you won the football game. Because, look, we got to be fair, right? What I said, I just knocked I get so excited, knock my monitor back. What I said for weeks in my criticism that was justified of this team and Aaron Glenn is, it's not just that they're losing games, it's how it looks. The fact that your defense has blown some leads, has had chances to win games against Pittsburgh, against Tampa Bay, and just vomit it all over yourself when you got a defensive-minded head coach, is going to have people impugning the legitimacy of that head coach. That's just a fact. It comes with the territory. We saw, that awful game against the Dolphins on Monday night where it was penalties and turnovers. It's just a ginormous mess. So in all 3 phases of the game, we've seen this team lose. It's not just the losses, it's how it looks. So you bring it back to yesterday, and it's like, man, it's not just about the win. It's about how it looked, where they looked functional. How many penalties did the Jets have in this game? I'll tell you right now, the Jets had 4. Now, there were a lot of penalties in the game overall, 6 in total, but the Jets only having 4 penalties for a total of 25 yards. Dare I say, they actually appear to be disciplined. No turnovers, only 4 penalties, and the run game that all season long, forget all season long, we go back to training camp. This was marketed as a team that obviously was going to have its issues when it came to its passing attack, because whatever you thought about Justin Fields' ceiling had nothing to do with his ability to actually throw the football, and it being Garrett Wilson and then really nobody else. You just didn't have a lot of confidence that they'd be able to get it done. But we had been marketing this team as they're going to be a ground and pound offense. They're going to run the football at will. You know it's coming, but it's going to be effective because of that running back room with Brees, Isaiah Davis, who was awesome yesterday, and Braylon Allen, who unfortunately might be lost for the season, and also Justin Fields. So like that combination, that foursome was supposed to be electrifying. And maybe not like the Ravens, right? Like how the Ravens with Lamar and Derrick Henry, maybe not as good as that. Like no one's expecting you to be the Ravens' high-powered offense, Justice Hill, right? Like, but we were expecting to see this team rack up rushing yards, rack up ground yards, and it just hasn't happened. So to see them yesterday, again, rush for 254 yards is just incredible. And it, for a moment, quiets the noise about the head coach, who you do give credit. Now, the defense was getting gashed, and, we would have been on here killing them for a game in which their offense was able to finally get it going, and your defense that had actually been playing well the last couple of weeks just got gashed by a 40-year-old quarterback. But you give Aaron Glenn credit because, given how tumultuous this week was, the fact that they were able to stay locked in, engaged, connected, and still fight for what was a very important win, the coach has to get his credit. Now, I saw, and I have to bring this up. And my man, Nick Central, who we have fun with going back and forth on Twitter. He's a good dude. Met him through just, Nick's commentary, right? So in that, we were able to, develop a little bit of a relationship. And now, I've gone on his podcast. I'm looking to get him back on my podcast. And I want to pull up a tweet he had from yesterday, because it just highlights some of the stupidity that exists in our world. And I want to blow this thing up. So first and foremost, always lead with love, right, man? Always lead with love. Shout out to Alex B at Nick Central. Does a tremendous job on his podcast. And we go back and forth having fun. It's always love when, we take shots at each other. He puts this up yesterday. Come outside, Ty D. Butler and Jay Gasman. Now, the context of this tweet is important. He says, come outside. He's intimating all of that criticism, all of that smoke you guys had for the Jets while they were in the midst of losing 7 straight games to start the season. I want to hear from y'all. So he's like, come outside. He's pulling a Drake. Remember Drake did that to Kendrick Lamar and it ended up backfiring on Drake. Drake was like, yo, come outside. So that's what Nick Central is doing. Alex B. And I find it so odd that as I'm sitting here watching, and my wife's across from me, she's sitting in the office because she's doing her work. I've got 3 monitors on, the biggest one obviously dedicated to the Jets. As I am celebrating the Jets winning a football game, which I hadn't seen since last season, and we're in week 8. As I'm celebrating that, I got this dude tweeting at me, come outside, as if I'm rooting against the Jets. No, I'm not. I'm a Jet fan. You know how miserable it is to root for a team that's quite literally bad at everything? You think that I want to see them go 0-17? I actually came across a Jet fan this morning that was like, man, I really wanted to see them go 0-17. And I'm like, dog, that's embarrassing. That is a stink that never escapes you. 0-17 is pathetic. It is like the biggest indictment of an organization possible. Sure, you want the number 1 overall pick. I worry about the draft come April, man. I want to see my team win football games. I've invested so much emotionally and just overall as a fan. It's hard. We're not at week 16, week 15, where later in the season you've been beaten down so much. It's like, all right, let's end this thing. Let's get the draft pick. It's week 8, bro. And I don't think they're going anywhere. It's not, this was huge for the playoffs implications. Absolutely not. I just want to see my team win a freaking football game. So this idea that you're challenging me because I've been highly critical of Aaron Glenn is so ridiculous, because the foundation of the idea is, well, Ty, how could you not praise a head coach who literally had the worst start to a tenure in franchise history? 0-7 to start his career as a Jet head coach never happened before. until now. So between that, his defense getting roasted, the fact that his offense was inept, what he has done at the quarterback position, you damn right I'm going to destroy him for that. I'm reacting in real time to what I'm watching. I'm not rooting against him. You think I want to sit here year after year after year and have the same conversation over and over and over about how undisciplined the team is, about how they're the worst offense in the sport, they're unwatchable. I almost feel embarrassed just as a fan when they're on a standalone primetime game, because it's like I want to hide y'all in the 1 o'clock window where football fans get to watch other games. I don't want to have them exposed to that garbage, because I feel like I got to walk around with a garbage bag over my head, my G. So the fact that you thought this made sense, come outside, Ty D. Butler and at Jake Asman, it is so insane, because it is operating under this like flawed logic of, well, guys, I know the Jets winning ruined your day. Yo, we're Jet fans, bro. We're Jet fans. It's like, well, you guys are fishing for engagement because you want to rip Aaron Glenn. You realize the engagement potential is actually higher if your team that has been bad for a decade and a half is actually pretty good and shocks the world. You see what Indianapolis is doing with Daniel Jones? You see that? Think about if the Jets were in that position, how much more exciting, how much more fun, how much more engaging this would be if we got to root for a team that is shocking the world. And look, people don't, to follow along the Colts analogy, it's not like people are saying the Colts could win the Super Bowl, because I would imagine there's still a lot of skeptics out there, despite what Jonathan Taylor, who should be an MVP candidate, is doing. There's still a lot of skepticism. But the point is, rooting against Aaron Glenn is counterproductive as a talk show host and as a fan. If they're excelling, you get more engagement that way. Because it does get to a point where so much losing, we're regurgitating a lot of the conversation. People check out, man. They don't give a damn anymore. They're like, you know what? Let me go watch college football, scout the next quarterback. I'm not on here to talk about the Jets. So it is foolish. It is foolish to suggest that anyone with a platform like the one that I have or the one that Jake Asman has, because we have been critical of Aaron Glenn, which was justified, that all of a sudden when he wins a game, we should now be called on the carpet. As if we're not Jet fans. Y'all are just crazy. It's so ridiculous. Because again, all we need to do is apply logic. Okay, so the head coach has the worst start to a tenure any Jet head coach has ever had. We're going to crush him for it because of the undisciplined nature with the penalties and the turnovers, the bad offense, defense being, blowing games at times, and just the messiness around the entire operation, where he's also bad at clock management and he's losing them games. We're going to be highly critical of a guy who does that, especially when that man is combative with the media, bro. You can't be bad and also an a-hole. Like, that combination's never going to work. We can sniff that out. It's fraudulent. It feels a little like you're just trying too hard. Man, ain't nobody got time for that. But when you win, we'll give you credit, because as much as I criticize him for the bad clock management yesterday, actually pretty good. Actually pretty good. The proper use of timeouts. So for all of the people who want to drag Jake, and I got pulled into this yesterday, understand it is best for business if the team is winning. It's what we're rooting for. And there will be no apologize to Aaron Glenn for what? For rightfully criticizing him? For rightly condemning how combative he was with the media and how ridiculous it is for a winless, inexperienced head coach to pump his chest out and act the way that he did? No, I'm not apologizing for that. He won, so I give him credit. And if he wins again, I'll give him credit. If he turns this thing around, I will give him credit. And if he actually becomes a head coach who's pretty darn good, I'll turn around and then say I was wrong because I was a guy saying he's not cut out for this. I think we need to move on. I want to see that process through. But if we get to a point, because and this is where I'll say I might have to eat crow. I might have to then come back and say I was wrong. Because I'm a man. I'm not hiding from takes that didn't age well. I feel how I feel. I'm going to stand on business. I'm going to talk with conviction. That's what we're going to do here. And if I'm proven to be right, I'm going to pump my chest out and talk about it. If I'm proven to be wrong, I'm not running from it. I'll say, yo, I was wrong about this cat. I was wrong about this cat. So far, I haven't been. He's 1-7. If he turns it around, I'll be willing to come on here and be like, yo, good thing they weren't listening to me. So back to the Woody Johnson of it all. It's the Woody Johnson game. It's the Woody Johnson game because he went out there and it's like, as bad as the comments were in real time about Justin Fields, it somehow ended up getting worse as the week progressed. When I first saw, and I actually popped on here like a breaking news stream. I popped on here immediately to talk about it because I was so pissed off. When he just dragged Justin Fields as if the head coach who Woody Johnson was celebrating talked about how he was hugging him tight, and the head coach who he loves and has stood by, as if that guy didn't pick Justin Fields to be his quarterback. Give him $30 million guaranteed dollars, got a $22 million cap hit for next year. As bad as it was in real time, and I went off on him, flagrantly disrespectful. I mean, you can't do that to this kid, especially when the guys that you're praising were the ones who selected him to be the quarterback. You can feel how you feel. You can discuss how it hasn't gone as planned, that you thought it would be better, and you're hoping that it starts to trend upward at some point. But to drag him the way that you did was so unprofessional. It was cowardly. And we're at the point now where you need to come out and publicly apologize to that dude. That's just, that's just facts. It's facts right there. You got to come apologize. The way that you did him dirty this week was awful. So that was my reaction in real time. And somehow it just got worse, y'all. We learned a couple days later, Tyrod Taylor was probably going to start yesterday, which I thought was confirmed when Woody Johnson went out there and was holding court to the media. I said, there's no way that this guy, as inept as Woody Johnson is, as much of as a clown as he can be, there is no way that he is talking with such like animosity about the quarterback that quarterback starting on Sunday. I thought that sealed the deal. And then we learned Tyrod Taylor's actually not healthy enough to be out there. Can't even fly to Cincinnati, which is so comedic. Kills the quarterback, which I thought all but kind of like, stamped he was not going to be the quarterback anymore. Said quarterback is in a competition the rest of the week. That quarterback then graduates to starter again because backup quarterback isn't able to play. And what does that quarterback do? Goes out there and balls out, man. Leads his offense to 39 points. And he also deserves a lot of credit for what Breece Hall was able to do because Justin Fields, who only rushed for 31 yards, the fact that there were a lot of design runs called for him, the fact that he was able to throw for 244, hitting guys that if you are not a Jet fan, you're watching this game like Tyler Johnson, Mason Taylor, Isaiah Davis, like the Isaiah Williams, Jeremy Rucker, like the guys he's throwing to. No Garrett Wilson, no Josh Reynolds. And not that Josh Reynolds is some stud, but he's a second wide receiver on the depth chart. He's throwing to Lazard and Andrew Beck. The fact that he was able to have that much success with his arm opened up the rushing attack for guys like Brees, for guys like Isaiah Davis. And it's ultimately why the Jets end up with 254 yards. It's an incredible game by Justin Fields. And as down on him as I was, there was more of a rooting interest, if that makes sense. I'm always rooting for him because he's the quarterback of my team. But there was more of an investment because of how unfairly I thought he was treated by his owner. And it's a feel-good story. Feel-good story. And that goes down as the Woody Johnson game. Take that, Woody Johnson. If only our quarterback could complete a pass. Well, if only our defense could get a stop, Woody. Which the defense, to its credit, in the biggest moment of the game was able to do that. We also got to, unfortunately, talk about the sad passing of Nick Mangold, a Jet legend, someone who exuded toughness, and also, as we learned a lot, not just yesterday, but the last couple of weeks, was beloved by so many people because of how good of a dude he was. All you hear about when they reflect on Nick Mangold, yes, he was an awesome player for the Jets, obviously Ring of Honor. He's a Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame candidate. But more importantly, the legacy of how you were as a person, being able to translate and being able to be the biggest part of the conversation in your passing is so important, man. His high character guy, incredible dude, and just a heartbreaking story for him to die at the age of 41. I saw my man Willie Colon up there on the SNY pregame show get choked up talking about him. Shout out to you, Willie. That is a tough thing to have to do. I heard my man Jake Asman, him and Mike Tannenbaum talking about it on the ESPN New York show, New York Game Day. And then Rex Ryan, who was basically in tears, man, on ESPN's NFL Countdown show. That's a heartbreaking story. I was in here in this same office, sitting in the same seat yesterday. Just finished watching church. My wife was right across from me. She's doing some work on her laptop. The kids are in here. Noah's sitting on my lap. He's imitating me doing a talk show. And I just saw that flash across my screen. Nick Mangold passes away at the age of 41. He was dealing with the kidney issue. And I took Noah off my lap. I was like, no way. Like, did I read that correctly? Just, 13 days ago? He put out a message, asking people for help. And it's a vulnerable place to be in when you are in that desperation mode, in dire need of help. Because think about, like, how often you don't hear about the health issues people are experiencing. It's personal. You don't want to expose everyone to that. That's something you want to deal with by yourself, and sometimes to your detriment, but it's what people go through. Like, I just don't want to get that vulnerable with folks. But because of how dire his situation was, and we didn't even know, or at least I didn't know, he was on the brink of death, because of the magnitude of that moment and what it called for, he had to, and I don't know him, but I'd imagine, like, he didn't want to get that vulnerable with folks, but he had to, because literally his life depended on it. And he puts out that message. and he's calling for, Ohio State fans, Jet fans, rally together. If anyone is able to donate a kidney to me, uh, with this blood type, I could really use it right now. And little did we know, 13 days after that message was publicized, we would be sending our condolences to his family. It is just the most heartbreaking and devastating news that a Jet fan and anyone could have seen flash across their timeline yesterday. Because in every aspect, at every turn, every layer to that story is just brutal. It leaves you distraught. He had kids, he was married. He's only 41 years old. Only 41 years old. And he had like this rare kidney defect that 2 weeks ago we didn't know about. He was dealing with that, him and his family by himself. And now to learn he's no longer here, man, it's just so sad. And we do the whole thoughts and prayers. That's just like our knee jerk. But think about how that family feels waking up today. The Mango family feels like he was here and now he's just gone. It's just horrifying news. So, in the spirit of thoughts and prayers, I really do pray that God grants the Mangold family the strength to endure something that, I mean, honestly, they will never get over. They will never stop thinking about, but the strength to endure it all. Grant them grace and mercy and just be with them as they navigate through such a just heartbreaking, horrifying situation, man. That's tough. That's tough. I had some tears in my eyes yesterday. Shout out Nick Mangold. Thanks for the memories. Thanks for just the attitude that you brought to the field. Thanks for the fun, man. Like I never got a chance to meet him, but like you look at pictures, you see videos, you listen to people give their own, personal anecdotes, the relationships they had with him. Nick Mango, what a hell of a dude, hell of a career. And I'm just praying that your family has the strength to endure this. Earth has no sorrow. I don't want to get all preachy here that heaven cannot heal. To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. So I pray that you are resting peacefully with the Lord, man, and that you never have to experience any pain ever again. Ty D. Butler, that's where you can find me on X, on Instagram, on the YouTube page. And Nick Mangold, a lot of people feel like he inspired that victory for the Jets. Like, someone was looking over them, willing them to winning a game they frankly had no business winning. But yeah, that's tough news to have to see flash across your TL yesterday morning. So rest in peace, Nick. Rest in peace, man. And once again, love and light to the family. That's a tough one. Jets win yesterday. I mean, how do we transition back to things that in the grand scheme of things are actually meaningless? But his football team, a football team that he loved through and through, was able to get a victory yesterday. And now they're off for a couple weeks before they play the Cleveland Browns off the bye. And then it's a short week on the road in Foxborough to play the Patriots. So that's where as much fun as we're having now, and I don't want to do this to rain on parades because this is a gleeful Monday, right? Like this is a victory Monday, so you want to enjoy it, especially going into a bye. But as we try to look forward, um, they're home against the Browns. And the Browns got stomped out yesterday by the team that the Jets will be playing after they play the Browns, Patriots, which, by the way, yo, Drake May, like, I guess if we want to rehash some old conversations, if we're looking for some juicy content we want to bring back, was the best quarterback of last year's draft actually Drake May? I know Jaden Daniels had one of the all-time great rookie seasons ever, getting his team to the NFC Championship game. But Drake May now, with a head coach who actually knows what he's doing. Gerard Mayo was in over his head, and good job by New England seeing that, like scouting that immediately, and doing a course correction because it has paid dividends. Mike Vrabel gets there, immediate cleanup on aisle 9, and now the Patriots are 6-2. They're in first place of the AFC East, and you don't want to get too ahead of yourselves. They've got the number 2 seed. They are going to be in there in position to get the number 1 overall seed and a bye, which, for us Jet fans, all too familiar. You look at the Patriots schedule, they play Atlanta. I can't, like, Atlanta's one of the most, like, mystifying teams. Just when they're good, they're fantastic. But then it's like, wait, you got 30 to nothing by the Panthers. You got waxed by the Dolphins, and I'm also mad because I took the Falcons -6.5 yesterday. I thought that was a lock. Like, of all the games I bet on, I felt Falcons 6.5 against the Dolphins. Oh, this is a layup. The Patriots got the Falcons. They're in Tampa Bay. The Bucs are winning, but they haven't been all that impressive. They play the Jets, Cincinnati, who just lost to the Jets, and then the Giants before their bye week. So Atlanta, Tampa Bay, New York, Cincinnati, New York for it's both New York teams. For the Patriots coming up here, I mean, 5 games. At worst, they're 4-1. They're going to be favored against Atlanta. They might be road dogs in Tampa Bay, but even if they're a dog, that'll be a short 1.5, 2.5 point spread. They'll be favored against the Jets. They'll be favored against the Bengals. They'll be favored against the Giants. They're going to go 4-1 and be right there for the number 1 seed in the AFC. Off the bye, though, they've got Buffalo and Baltimore back-to-back. That's tough, especially with Lamar. He'll be back. But the end of the season with the Jets and the Dolphins, the Patriots might be the 1 seed. Drake May's been awesome. I wouldn't say he's been unbelievable because you saw the raw talent of how it could look if he had a functional team around him, like with a head coach who knows what he's doing. And they still don't have like these awesome weapons. Like Steph Diggs is having a nice season, but Drake May and the Patriots are just like steamrolling teams. And by the way, should have beaten the Steelers. They had 5 turnovers in that game. A good team, no team should have 5 turnovers in a game. Certainly not a good team like the Patriots. And if you don't turn the ball over 5 times, and I get every team can do this exercise, you're 7-1. So the Patriots are really good. How we got there was because we're going through the Jet schedule. It's the Browns after the bye, short week against the Patriots on Thursday night. And then you're at Baltimore, home for Atlanta, home for Miami. So I guess there's some winnable games coming up. I say that. It's amazing how, and this is what makes football so spectacular. All it takes is 1 win to completely change the complexion of a conversation. Like just 24 hours ago, we were like, yo, 0-17's on the table for the Jets. Like, that could happen. And now it's like, well, maybe they beat the Browns. You're not beating New England or Baltimore, but I think you can beat the Falcons. I think you can win a home game against the Dolphins. The Dolphins, who just destroyed the Falcons yesterday. In Jacksonville, I don't know. Is Brian Thomas Jr. Gonna be a Jag past November 4th? At New Orleans, they stink. Home for the Patriots. You're gonna get swept by New England and swept by Buffalo. At Green, yeah, and that's the end of the season. So there might be a couple more wins on the board for the Jets, and you guys probably laughing like, "Oh, who cares, right? Like, what's the significance there?" I think the significance there is there are a lot of people who felt like there is a 0% chance Aaron Glenn gets canned. Like Woody's invested a lot into him financially, just reputation wise. You bring this guy in for a year, he's a former player, and you can him. Like, is that the type of reputation hit Woody Johnson is comfortable with taking? Which you could argue that's not a great way to run your organization. You could argue both ways about how is that a great way to run your organization. On one side, you can say, listen, the best way to run your organization is to do what the Patriots did, seek investigate what's going on, and if it comes down to coaching, the dude is just in over his head, former player or not, we've got to nip this thing in the bud, right? Like we just have to have that course correction happen as quickly as possible, a la what we've seen the Texans do, and then what the Patriots just did this past off season. The flip side to that is, do you really want, as you're looked upon as the worst owner in football, do you really want to add to your resume impatience with a former player who called this his dream job? So it's tough. Woody would have been in a tough spot, man. The Jets go 0-17. Like you can have conviction one way or the other, and that's arguable. What you can't argue is that it's a tough place to be in for the owner. Like, what do you do there at 0-17? But now, with them being able to win that game yesterday and look as good as it did, and also we go through the schedule and it's like, all right, the Browns, let's just say that can be a win. Falcons, Miami, New Orleans, those are 4 more wins in theory on the schedule. You get to 5 wins on the season, no one's saying you got to fire the head coach, even if it's 4. I think 0, 1, 2 wins, you're in that ballpark where it's like, man, I don't know. Like, man, this is a tough one. It's a tough call. It's a really tough call. Once you get to 3, 4, 5 wins, Aaron Glenn completely eliminates from the conversation he should be one and done, because you've steadied the ship, not from a win-loss standpoint, but from the standpoint of you're not completely off the rails. Like your credibility is not 100% shot. And it actually works for you. You start 0-7. You rally your troops to be able to get some wins because this thing could have gone sideways, and that did not happen. So that's why it's important for Aaron Glenn to get a couple of wins here. And yesterday was a step in the right direction, just from, again, the perspective of what's the worst that this can get to where it's legitimately on the table. The head coach is one and done. And I would say the 0-win ballpark, 1 win, like if you're in that 0, 1 or 2 win ballpark, it's a conversation being had at the end of the season, whether you like it or not. But if you're north of that, you get to 3, 4, 5 wins, easy there. Maybe we got something cooking. We can make a decision about coordinators. Maybe Wilkes is not the guy. I don't think Inkstern is going anywhere, but it gives you some wiggle room to where now it's like, all right, get to the off season, draft your quarterback, improve the entire roster through the draft and through free agency, make some changes. We'll see what happens with Breece Hall. I don't know that Quentin Williams is getting moved, but we'll see what happens with the rest of the roster, and then go into next year with higher expectations. But That's a great win for the Jets. The Woody Johnson game. I want to hear from people in the chat. I see there's some folks watching the stream. Hit up the chat, y'all. I want to go back and forth with you guys. We in here, man. First time we've been able to have a victory Monday. That's pretty cool. The Jets were on their way to embarrassing themselves. I would have been on here screaming, just completely losing it. But the fact that they get a win, you got to feel good about that. You got to feel good about that. I also talked about Woody Johnson should publicly apologize to Justin Fields for disrespecting him the way that he did. And Fields was candid yesterday, very transparent about how emotional this week has been for him. And a lot of people in this spot, and I understand why they do it. They want to quell the noise. They want to extinguish the fire. But a lot of people in this spot would say, yeah, I didn't really see the comments. It doesn't bother me. That doesn't disrupt what's going on in the locker room. Justin Fields was pretty candid yesterday. This has been a tough week, man. And you start to peel back the layers and really look through the lens of, in the end, like as much as we roast him, get him out of town, which we have a right to do, in the end, still a human, like he's still a guy who understandably has to be overcome by the anxiety of this could be my last shot at being a starting quarterback in this league. Like going from what he was at Ohio State, being a first-round quarterback, and now my career as a starter, just like that, could be over. So there's some angst. I'm playing terribly. I'm on my way to getting benched. And now I've got the owner pouring gasoline on the fire. The owner of the team is coming out and essentially telling the world, I've got the worst starting quarterback in the league. Like, what do you expect us as a team to do? So now he's got to hear that. And he says he's not on social media, but I've talked to, athletes. I've talked to people before, and they say whether you're on social media or not, these are things that get sent to you because you have family, you got friends who are on social media. And then being in New York, which the media capital of the world, like that stuff is just around you. You can't escape it. So it's in his face, it's in his face, it's in his face. He's got an owner ripping him. He's got a head coach who, let's not get it twisted, was going to bench him for the backup quarterback the way that he did last week at halftime. This was going to happen start of the game. No, Tyrod Taylor's our quarterback. And he's got a team that's winless with no Garrett Wilson, no Josh Reynolds. He's throwing to receivers that many people have never even heard of. So he was very candid and was open about how emotional of a week it's been. And you know me, man, I'm a spiritual guy. When you start talking about Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior, you got me, bro. And it was real. It was authentic. This wasn't like some, him doing media training and, putting up a facade. He was keeping it 100. So I respect that about him. There's room to be critical and us, come out and say he's not the starting quarterback of the future. They got to get their guy in the draft. But once Woody does what he did this week, I think a lot of people felt so badly for Fields that in addition to being a Jet fan and wanting to see them win a football game, you had more of an investment in Justin than you have had all season long. From an emotional standpoint, that was powering a lot of the rooting interest yesterday. And I saw it across my timeline from non-Jet fans, from just ESPN NFL analysts. Alex Smith was on Countdown yesterday, destroyed Woody Johnson. Just absolutely destroyed him. So I'm happy for Justin to have that performance on a day where the Jet community, the Jet family, the Jet organization is dealing with a tough loss. As we say, RIP to our guy, Nick Mangold. So a lot of emotions running high, very heavy. He's dealing with his own stuff. with the owner doing him dirty the way that he did. And the Jets, just from an injury standpoint, just didn't have a lot going. And they scored 39 points yesterday. 39 points. So shout out to Justin Fields staring down the barrel of adversity. And I do wonder if this now has clinched he's the starter going forward. Like even when how do you bench Justin Fields after that? Tyrod's got to stay on the bench. Justin is probably your quarterback until he has another meltdown. But for the moment, all of that noise has been quieted. And then for Aaron Glenn, who I've killed, and I've been justified in roasting him, gets his first win as an NFL head coach. And I thought that he coached a good game yesterday. 4 penalties. Offense was clicking. Now the defense got torn to shreds, but when it was when it was money time, when it was time for them to win the football game, they were able to do that. They were able to do that. Woody calls out Justin Fields. He responds. That is a hell of a win going into the bye week. And also, I tweeted this out yesterday at Ty Butler. All of my colleagues on the radio, who love killing coaches because of their stubbornness, their refusal, my colleagues, they love killing coaches for going for 2, down 14 upon scoring a touchdown. And it's out of stubbornness. It's out of this hardcore refusal to acknowledge that maybe, just maybe, as we evolve, then strategies will also evolve, philosophies will change, and you can reject it as much as you want, but the advanced numbers in combo with just the logic of it, yes, going for 2, down 14, and you score a touchdown makes all the sense in the world. So I'd imagine my colleagues today going to pull up on the radio and be like, yo, Jets did it, and they won the game because of it. Because what we can't do, if they had lost the game, I promise you, a big story today would have been, why would Aaron Glenn go for 2 when he's down 14? Why do coaches do that? That would have been a big story today. So, but when it works, you never hear these people, the critics. You never hear them, the old heads who just hate what football had back in my day. You don't hear from them when it actually works. You only hear from them when it doesn't. It's similar to being aggressive on 4th down. Why would he do that in that situation? It's easy to question him when the play's not made. But when the team goes for it on 4th down, converts, and wins the game because of it, it's crickets. You don't hear a peep from the old heads. So I'm just curious to see if those people who are anti going for 2, down 14, when they saw that it worked, when they saw it actually worked, they're going to talk about it today. Ty Butler is where you can find me on X, on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. On the YouTube channel, I post my TV clips on SNY in addition to live streaming this show. So make sure you guys give us a follow there. Yeah, fun day. Victory Monday, baby. Happy to be here. I appreciate you guys tuning in. We didn't talk about the Knicks today. That was a bad loss to Miami. You know what's funny? Before we get out of here, largely a football show, but it is going to be amazing to watch the narrative switch from Tibbs last year, played his starters too many minutes, ran them into the ground. That switched into Mike Brown not playing his guys enough minutes. Is he actually sitting guys on the bench too long? Lineup combinations. I know it's early, experimenting. What are we doing here? Why, as the Miami Heat are going on a run, why do we see both Cat and Brunson both on the bench? Oh, that narrative switch is going to be funny to watch happen in real time. Ty D. Butler on every social media platform. Hit me up. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Peace and love.